is the hottest radio station.
Miami, baby.
100-degree radio.
Welcome to ID Productions. And today we're doing a DJI Mini 3 Pro review. Gonna let that ride for just a little bit.
I'm one of the baddest of all time. Enjoy yourself.
All right. So we're gonna get right into it. Gonna break this down. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover a couple of bases. Our outline is the DJI Mini 3 Pro. What's it about? What's the hype? Basically, up front, our review to it. All right, so we're gonna cover, first part is the DJI website, which you see right here. And I'm going to give y'all a clear view without me in front of it. Okay, so a couple of things that we're going to go over is who is it for, point of view, the hobbyist, the professional, pros and cons, and we'll be going back and forth. Instead of at the end, we'll be going back and forth with the pros and cons throughout, because I want to cover a lot of what's going on throughout this process, so you'll be familiar with what are the pros and cons as we go through it. So we'll be covering that throughout the process. Then outside of the pros and cons, at the end, we'll go over the top recommendations overall for DJI, and that's going to include the Intro Pro, which is what this review is all about, the DJI Mini 3 Pro at the Intro Pro. And then we're going to do a high-end Pro, which is the DJI Mavic. And then we're going to do the Ultimate Pro, which of course is the MATRICE 300 RTK. All right, now we're going to let DJI walk us through, and we're going to go through the features. So you're going to see the little open up right there. And we'll start with the grams. 249 grams. What does that mean in a nutshell? It means this is a small drone. This is a small drone, and it's compact, and you can carry it almost anywhere. You can carry your little charger bag with it if you need to, if you got a battery charger that will power it up. I have a fast charger, a number of devices to keep this thing going. Like when I'm on the move somewhere, it's fully charged when I'm going towards the site. But say I'm already at the site, say I accomplished some stuff at the site, and I'm like, hey, we got a second site that we might want to go to. So on the way to it, I can plug that thing right up in the car and get it charged, or I can plug it to the battery charger and have it charging while we're on the way to the site, so it constantly keeps that charge. But the biggest thing with this is the size. The primary thing most people liked about this size is you don't have to register this drone because it's small enough. where it can cause the least amount of damage compared to some of the larger drones that are above 249. Not a really big deal if you're really doing professional stuff because you're going to register it anyway. However, what is a big deal is certain areas you can't use the larger drones where you can use this one at. And that can be a deal breaker when it comes to you doing a professional gig, professional high-end wedding, or real estate shot things, etc. Because if you're not able to use your high-end drone to get the biggest footage, and then you have to put in for site petitions and things like that, the same thing that they would do in Hollywood on high-end level shoots where you gotta get a permit and things like that, then it's no bueno, no good. So that's one of the awesome things about the GRAMMYS. Tri-directional obstacle sensing. We're going to get into that a little bit. Matter of fact, we'll scroll down to that right now. We'll just cover them as we go through it. Let's see where we at. This is the drone, so you want to see it. Wow, that nice little big view. F1.7 lens. We'll cover that and a little bit more detail. But that's your low light. That gives you good low light when you're shooting at night, dawn or night or dusk. For your sunrise shots. It's beautiful, very beautiful. The 4K is lovely within this drone and the features within it, and all of your side features also. However, let's go down. And just for a second, we're on omnidirection. Okay, I had to track back where we were. Okay, so let's see. Where's the little direction? Here we go, right here. All right, tri-directional. So straightforward. You have your forward sensor, you have your bottom sensor for landing, and you have a reverse sensor for going backwards. I think I would have probably this is just a note, for DJI. I think I would probably have referred to have side sensors than back sensor, because 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, I'm usually not flying backwards. There are times that you would want to fly backwards to capture a footage coming away from it. But when I do that, I'm already pre-planned, and I'm either line of sight, which I'm having not a worry in sight about that. Side footage is probably more important than reverse footage because, again, number one, I'm usually not going to be backing out of stuff, and I'm not going to, it's a different story, I guess, if you were one of those guys where your footage was say wildlife and you're in between bushes and things like that. At that point, I probably wouldn't recommend this drone for wildlife, because I know the type of environments you can get into when you're in wildlife, and you want full sensors. You want to definitely step up to the bigger boys when it comes to the sensors in those type of environments. However, I'm not usually doing my wildlife with this. If I do have to do wildlife, I'm doing still photography. So that's a whole nother ballpark. And this is still good if I want to take it out there and get surveillance of the land. But if you're in like the Amazon jungle or something, I highly recommend you step it up to the next level drone. We're on the Entry Pro right now in the DJI Mini 3. Very awesome drone. If I was to just call it out at raw footage, I would say this is the drone I would recommend. And who I'm talking to is the hobbyist with a budget and the professional saving at a budget. What do I mean? The hobbyist with a budget. So that hobbyist person that, anybody that's into hobbies, like electronical hobbies, you already know it's going to be a little monetary value in there. So it's going to be a little costly. Doesn't have to be extremely costly. But I say with a budget, meaning that, you got a little money to spend. You can throw $1,000 on this, no problem, to get all the features that you need to get out of this. this is definitely for that hobbyist, because at the end of the day, if you're not a professional, and the only thing that separates the professional from the hobbyist is the directive and how you're actually using this thing to get a client some high-end good footage, videography, filmography, etc., real estate, location, you're doing government work, etc. You're getting them good footage summed up in a professional platform. Now, for the hobbyist, you don't have to be worried about the professional. Now, if you're like me, I want to do good footage regardless, whether if I'm on hobby, just getting some awesome captures, or if I'm actually with a client getting captures. So for me, it's the one and the same as a professional. However, there are hobbyists that don't do professional filming. And I would say they could save some money and get the DJI Mini 2, which will cost way less. However, with that being said, to spend that couple of $100 more, you don't have to upgrade later, and you get your hobby can extend for a nice long time until you're like, you know what, I got enough money to throw out for the big boys, and I can do a much bigger hobby, and then we can start talking the high-end pro level at that point or above. So that's the two point of views people this for. And then that professional, meaning you're saving at a budget. So how are you saving at a budget? Well, you don't have to buy the extra large equipment that can really fancy your pants and fancy your client's pants that much more. And don't get it wrong, this will fancy your pants. This we have some high-end videos and scenes and sights that we've done with this camera, and it's an awesome piece of equipment. However, there is always better equipment, and it is reasonably better equipment, because when we look at our top recommendations, the three classes, the intro, the high-end, and then the ultimate, you have that balance. Everything in between from DJI, I do not recommend in between the Pro, Mini Pro 3 and the Mavic Pro. Anything less than the Mavic Pro and higher than the Mini 3 Pro, I just recommend that you go straight to the Mavic. And some of the reasons are there are different functions. You can save a little bit money, but you come so close to the cost, really counting the cost and what you get, you might as well step right all the way up to the Maverick and skip. I think it's like two to three brands under the Air, and they have a couple of more under there. But you might as well skip up to it, because at that cost you'll get much more for upgrading beyond the DJI Mini 3 Pro, because the DJI Mini 3 Pro, aka aside from above the 4K level, is close to the Air. So that's just a pro and a con. That's another pro and a con that to be evaluated. All right, so that's a point of view of who it's for. Now let's go down. Let's go down a little bit more. All right, so 4K. We started talking about the 4K features. This is a 4K camera. Now, as a 4K camera, this is from a professional photography. This is my statement for that will cover what will be known as a 5-star review. All right, the top reviews that I do is 3, 4, and 5 star. Anything below that, I try not to get into reviews for that unless it's so horrible I need to warn the people about it. So let me make a correction. That will be a 1, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so the ones would be, this experience with this particular product was so horrible, I need to let the public know that either this supplier or whoever it is that this review is being done with is horrible, and it needs to be noted. So when you see it, you're not shocked. When you have read my review and you see this is a 1 star, you have a forewarning that these people have not invested time in their, whether it's equipment or food or whatever it is, so that 1 star is essential when it's that low. Now, on the other hand, you got your 3 star. I don't worry about 2 star, because if you're so low that you're at a 2 but you're not at a 1, it's not even worth talking about. You might as well be a 1 star. It's not. I can't think of too many 2s. Now, on the flip side, on the higher end, you can be a little bit less than the highest. So you could be 3, 4, and 5. And what 3, 4, and 5s mean to me? 3s means that this is a general stable device. It's fairly reliable. It's got some questionable stuff, but at the same time, it has some questionable stuff. It's actually, got some decent stuff, and you can really save. It's got to have something to do with really saving. 4 star, however, we've stepped up to the plate that you are less than perfect, but you are awesomely reliable piece of equipment or food or whatever it is. So that's how we, cover these things. So I say all of that to say this. Coming back into the 4K review, what makes a 5 star 4K device in this particular case? Now, let me say, I have to say, for me, the DJI Mini 3 Pro is a 4.5. And the reason it's not a straight 5 is because it doesn't land on every last single high point. There are, like in the pros and cons, there's there's a give and take what you did. For the lower budget, it's one of the best lower budgets. Now, I would say it's a 5 star compared to other devices or other drones, but within DJI's own format, which we're covering, DJI's own format. It is definitely a 4.5, close to a 5 star for a beginner drone, because you can do so much. It's so diverse. On a good day, I would give it a 5 star. However, there are some things that would take it, that have stepped down to a 4 star, and we'll get into some of that later. But let's cover the video part. Why I had to go into that backstory just to take you to this. All right, so. For me, cameras. Now, this is a camera and this is a drone. So I am a photographer and videographer, which means both capabilities are useful to me in my field. The photos on this thing and the video. However, I'm predominantly a video when it comes to the drones. However, I will do some photos if you get some nice shots, some nice aerial shots that you want to use in edited footage, or you want to use as a place marker or something like that. The photos on here are real nice, but I don't treat it like I would treat my cameras, for photos, because not just because of the size of it, because the size is nice, everything is decent. It's just not that next level like one of my cameras in the air, because my cameras can do some really good stuff, dealing with Nikon and Sony, the Alpha series for Sony, and Nikon's, some of Nikon's top series. It's just so much that you can do as a photo that's rich, that this camera doesn't pretty much put in. So there are some points that make it a 4 star. Now, let's go to the 4K. All of that to say this. When you advertise yourself as a 4K device, videography and photography, this is a requirement for me for you to be good at what you do. And one of those things is every feature that you have within that camera should be top 4K. And what do I mean by top 4K? Just give you a couple of small examples. Okay, so the general footage, this camera can shoot everything from 4K 30. I think it's 4K 30. I think 50, because I don't usually shoot in between, but mark me if I'm incorrect, the middle one. However, up to 60. So 4K 30, and no, it's lesser. Actually, I think it's 24 or 25, then 30, then 60. So within those, you have those three different capabilities of 4K, which is awesome. Now, when it comes to features like slow motion, which this particularly doesn't have, you can create the slow motion from, like, say, a 60K, 4K, 60K shot, slow it down, and then you can have it dumbed down to the 30 or lesser, 30 or 25. So then you'll be awesome. But that's the point. So when you have other features on here, like, for instance, the master shots, things like that, everything should be across the board 4K. And the reason why I say that, I'm giving you a small example, and we're going to get off of that. The small example is like one of Sony's camcorders that I've done a review for, which is the Sony, what model is it? It's the Sony Z90. And that one, their slow motion that is a part of it's a 4K camera, but their slow motion does not do 4K. Their slow motion is only high definition, which is a downside if you're advertising as a 4K camera. Every feature that you should have some form of 4K. It can be low 4K or whatever, but it should be 4K. And this one pretty much accomplished that, and that's pretty good for the 4K feature. Now, let's go on to the next phase. You got the extended battery life down there. Now, I'm going to scroll down here because I'm going to give you a preview of what that's like. So, for the standard battery that comes with this, FYI, let me pause for a second. I highly recommend you get the Fly More combo with this device if you're going to get this device. It is well beyond worth spending the extra money to get it versus having to upgrade to all of those features later, which will be at a higher cost if you do it that way. If you get it right off the bat, it's better. You'll pay less for getting everything right off the bat. Now, let me do the math for you when it comes to this little time that they give you right here. They say the standard battery is 34 minutes and the extended battery is 47 minutes. Incorrect. Now, you know as well as I know, every company, even good companies and great companies, they're going to over-exaggerate. I don't know what in the world kind of they must have like held this thing in their hand and let it run. But let me give you the realistic times that you'll deal with flight for flight, time after time going out to sites, and different capacities. So with the standard battery that says 34, you will get a consistent 25 minutes out of that battery life in almost all conditions. And I'm going to cover why I said almost all conditions. You'll get 25 straight minutes. Now, at 25 mark point, will you have more time? Yeah, you'll have more time. But this is the problem. You have to calculate comeback time. You have to calculate how far you're out doing your footage, and then how much comeback time you actually have. So say if I'm doing an overhead sky view of a neighborhood, like a neighborhood shot or something like that, then that means typically I'm probably going to be 2.5 minutes or so out of returning and returning within certain circumstances, meaning winds, low winds, high winds, slightly difficult weather, or other variables that may be involved. Excuse me 1 second. I have to drink some water because all of a sudden I have the hiccups. Okay. Now, with that being said, again, that 25 minutes you want to calculate for a safe return. You will get a consistent 25 minutes with the low battery. With the 47 minutes of the extended battery, however, you will get a consistent 30 minutes within there. And the good thing about the extended battery in 30 minutes from a professional point of view, let me give you an example. So when we're doing things like a high-end wedding, weddings or special events are usually planned per hour. So when you're reserving that time for a client, you usually reserve it within an hour. Like a client may say, I have an hour event, or I have 2 hour, or I have a 3 hour or 5 hour event. So you can multiply by the hour. And with that being said, with a 30-minute consistent battery at normal operations, you have a good prospect. Not that you're going to shoot drone shots like a full hour or anything like that, because drone shots are usually going to be excerpts of great footage that you get within the course, and then your regular cameras are going to be your full always on footage of that event or things like that, and your switch over from your different views and things like that. So with that being said, but you have half an hour increments that are solid and that are stable, when you do this. Now, again, if budget is at no cost, you don't have to stay limited to just the Fly More pack, which will include the 3 batteries. Again, the original standard that you get, and 2 extra extended batteries, and you can buy an extra extended battery to swap out in that 3, to have 3 all extended batteries in the 1 reserved standard battery that comes with the drone in that case, and you'll get good 30-minute intervals. That's your timing. So we've covered that. Let's, I think, was it anything else with the battery? Other than just a FYI, the extended batteries take your weight above the grams where it would need to be registered, FYI, if you do. Which means, boom, it's not a big thing to handle. You can go ahead and handle that. But be aware that the larger size batteries, that weight pushes you right above that 249 grams. All right, going back to our foundation. We covered that. And true vertical shooting, not a whole lot to say here, except that you can shoot for things like Instagram, with your, vertical shooting. And it's in the full radius of whatever your 4K is, which means you don't lose any 4K for turning sideways. You don't lose your radius. It just creates that. So it's perfectly set if you're going to post it to Instagram footage, which is usually probably, for my setting, the only time when that footage is necessary. However, as a professional photographer, I technically don't need that, because I know how to edit my footage down to where most of my Instagram posts get my radius in spite of their size handicap. But that's just an insider thing. All right, so that being said, then focus tracking. The process of focus tracking, the comments that I would have on that is this. Again, talking from the direct perspective of a professional versus a hobbyist. All right, focus, because the hobbyist would be more so into consistent focus tracking, because you want to do things like ride your bike and maybe record your bike ride. Not that you're going to do a heavy workout with anything less than 30 minutes, but you might want to record a special ride, or you might say have a off-road mountain bike or something like that, and you might want to record a special trail that you did, and get some really nice footage of conquering whatever terrain was, which may be way less than 30 minutes of your extended battery or something like that. And focus tracking is good concerning that. Now, from the professional side, focus tracking is very rarely used. Now, I would usually always prefer to be in full control of the camera myself. without the focus tracking. Usually you're going to use focus tracking as the director when you want to be in the shot without the camera. And there are different ways that you can play with that, but it's not a pet peeve for like when you're covering it from a professional standpoint, because you are the auto tracking for, like, say, the bride and the groom. You're the one that's watching that, because you might see, oh, this changes up, and that auto focus tracking is going to stay on a certain radius of whatever you tagged it to. So that's the pros and cons about that. Not a bad pro, not a bad con. It just is the information that you have to deal with when it comes to focus tracking. You'll have better use of that focus tracking, again, as the hobbyist. All right, now going down a little bit, let's stretch out the drone so you can see what it looks like wide open. And again, also in the vertical mode. All right, going down, we're going to cover a couple of more things, and then we're going to freestyle. We already covered the battery radius. I, again, highly recommend that you do get the Fly More combo in the full pack, and get yourself a nice little case. And let me come on for a second. So get yourself a nice little protective case for your travel. As a hobbyist or professional, it's just wise shopping. You might be on a boat ride, and you got everything there, and it slips off the boat. It'll float. It's waterproof, whole 9 yards. Handle your stuff. I wouldn't permanently keep it in salt, but you're protected really good with some of these type of cases, and it doesn't cost you that much. I will have that link. I will add that link, my affiliate link for the case as well as the camera in this footage. All right, so let's see. Coming back down. Why shoot with mini? Let's go over some of the fun stuff. All right, so one of the fun things about the mini, again, the biggest thing is the size. It's compact. You don't have to have the carrying case. You can just grab the mini and the battery. I won't do that because I just have professional habits that prevent me from doing that. But the hobbyist, might like, hey, you might get one of the smaller packs that just wrap up the case, your controller, in a little bag, and you're on the go. You're not going to get a whole bunch of footage, but you're just going somewhere where you want to capture something, or you want to have it to prepare. You might be on vacation or something and do some vacation shots. And the good thing about it, like I say, the size is just wonderful. This is a wonderful, perfectly sized, smaller drone to be able to get a lot of stuff, to not draw that much attention to bystanders when you're doing things. Most people rarely even know I'm around them because of the heights and the radiuses that I fly, except if I'm doing, like, say, a high-end wedding where actually I'm catching up close up looks where people can actually see the drone because I'm flying it low enough within the radius to get some basically like crane footage, because that's what you want to use the drones for. That was a lifesaver for the crane. Now you don't have to have your regular camera and rent a daggone crane for basic video production that you're doing or something like that. So it's number of reasons why it's awesome to have a drone to suffice for that. And plus, the 4K capability means I can match it to all of my other 4K high-end footage from my cameras and my camcorders and stuff like that within that format. So when I'm putting together a collage of everything matches, and there's no difference in professional footage because everything's raw 4K, anywhere from 30 to 25 coming out the gate. If I want, and if I wanted to, again, do my slow motion, I could do this speeds of 60K and then slow it down, to the 30K to get that capability. All right, so let's see. color grading. Color grading is one of the things that is on here. The thing to be noted on that is you got the 10-bit to work with. So if you're color grading any of the high-end professional software that you're using, is going to be awesome to be able to control it, and it gives you a lot of breathing room. Like I said, if you're running filters on it, there are many different methodologies as a photographer and videographer that different people use. Like there's some people that I know, some of my friends that do the same type of work that we do as far as footage, but they do things different ways. Like there are some enthusiasts, some professionals that color grading is their 75% of their workspace. Like they'll go out and catch raw footage and color grade everything all the time. That's their thing. Some of them, are nice at it. You can be nice at it. I color grade when I need to. I like to have my cameras in such a focus that I'm getting exactly what I need or close to exactly what I need, that I have to do very little if necessary. So it's a reverse. So when I do need it, I have a lot of breathing room because I'm not just going out to that. So I know that if I'm going out in a high sunlight, I can use filters, and that will offset that high glare, that will take away some of that beautiful color on like a perfect day. And not have to worry about a whole lot of color grading. In some cases, none at all, and you still get cinematic footage, the whole 9 yards. So that's the thing about, you have that capability if it's there, no matter what side of the weight that you weigh on, whether you're a high-end color grader, you love to color grade, or you do it when it's necessary within your footage. Now, photography. I do not do a lot of photography with this drone. I am predominantly a videographer with the drone. That was the very purpose I got it. And to give you an example, I do the photography. So to comment on it, I would say my comment is not going to be extreme on it, even though I would be extreme on like camera equipment for photography, because that's a different ballpark of what I use. Now with this one, the footage is awesome. You get the right lighting on the atmosphere or on the scene, the set that you're using to get it. You'll get some nice stuff. But this is not like, it's not what I really look for at photography. And I don't mean lesser. I just mean it's not a grab. This is another one of those things that's like a 4.5 for me when it comes to photography. Obviously 48 megapixel photo, that's combined, when it's using all of its capabilities together to sum it up in 48 megapixels. I shoot raw video and raw camera footage, regardless when I do that. And I think that was one of the pro cons for DJI. They should allow you to shoot only raw if you want to, not raw and other, and then you have to, delete the other JPEG footage, which you might not even care for. But that's just a note. And like I say, for those that are interested in I can say enough to say you get some good pictures with this if you need it. However, I would rather do a hovering scene because the camera is very good, and the gimbal is very good, where I would rather do a hovering still scene where you can anticipate a movement instead of a still shot within any type of footage that I do. So that's kind of just that preference when it comes down to that. All right, so this other radius, pretty much that just gives an example of the lesser footages that you can do, like
I'm one of the baddest of all time. Enjoy yourself.
The temporary high definition for if you're slowing it down. But again, like I said, you can bypass that altogether with the footage if you do a 4K 60 and slow down that 4K 60 to 30, and your slow motion is awesome. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into some the other shots and break those down. So, for an example, you have your master shots, you have your time lapse, etc. The main special features that I use, the main special feature that I use, other than the video, the straight video, is going to be the time lapse. That's the thing that you couldn't get within the DJI 2. So that part is actually awesome, the time lapse. Now, going back one more time, because this is the pros and cons when it comes to that battery. So going back here, remember I told you you have the 25 and the 30 minute for these batteries. You got the 25 and you got about 30 minutes in extended battery. If you're doing a set of nothing but time lapse, that changes that dynamics. Minus about 5 minutes, sometimes more, depending on if you're stopping and going. If you're doing a consistent time lapse, you'll save a little bit more battery power, so you can minus about 5 minutes, within there. But time lapse eats up the battery way more than your regular video usage. And even all the other features like master shots and the other special shots that you can use throughout that process. So that will handicap you more, and that will change the dynamics of that 25 minutes going into about 15, and that 30 minutes going into about 20 or so, give or take, within that. So be aware of that. That time lapse changes the dynamic. So if you're going out, I recommend that, like for an example, if you're going out with a time lapse, reserve one of your batteries, maybe one of the extended batteries, just for the time lapse that you're going to do within the area that you're going to cover. Reserve one of those batteries for those time lapse to get those different angles, because it will eat through that battery in no time, and then you'll be on to one of your next batteries. But then again, depending on how big you're doing, but depending on how professional and well equipped you are, you can buy as many batteries as you need. You don't have to be limited to just the Fly More. You can buy a couple of extra extended batteries and have them used for all kinds of different stuff, and be even much more prepared. However, I have thus, from a professional site and a professional gig, I have not needed more than my Fly More bag, which means the 3 batteries, the 3 original batteries. And that's including the 1 standard and the 2 extended. Now, normally with me, I'm kind of picky. I'm probably going to definitely switch out another extended for that standard battery. So I will have 3. The standard will be like a backup for if I want to warm up in the site and get an aerial view of what's going on, like I'm at a new location or something like that, to get all of that. And then when I'm ready to shoot, I'm going through with all my extendeds. So that's the ideal platform to use. But thus far, I never had to go beyond my 3 battery radius on any particular shoot. And any multi-site, like I say, I just recharged on the way to the next site at that point. So that's pretty much the scoop of that. Now, with that being said, again, remember I told you the special shooting. So you got your time lapse, and then you got your other different features. Almost all of those other different features, other than photography, I am my master shots. So I do my own master shots, because obviously any photographer knows you got a little special, and since that diversity cannot change, like DJI has not made it where it's like, oh, you can actually start doing some configuration, which a number of photographers that recommend it for DJI. I recommend it, DJI, if you're listening. So, one, if you can save your own master shot configurations, that would be awesome. Then I would start using the pre-configs, because the pre-configs will be mine. It would be a preset. Now, there is a way that you can play around with that using waypoints. Very time consuming and very changing depending on your area, where you're at and how you're shooting. But there's a way that you can play with that with waypoints. But in general, if they would just make it where, hey, I record a certain flight pattern and a certain radius, and I have my zoom, just like pre-config, you have a custom pre-configuring, and they would give you like, say, 5 or less, five different configs for 5 different angles. These could be a number of things, the type of shots that you save, where you could do a backup shot and then a zoom in, exploding shot. I mean, you can create all of your different angles. That would be a nice upgrade, DJI. Listen to your people. All right, so that being said, again, I'm my own master shot. I am my own other shots within there. Even usually when I'm doing my time lapse, I'm on freestyle mode. I'm not usually doing time lapse. However, I can go to some of the other features in the time lapse, but I'm usually doing freestyle because I want to control. And sometimes the wind may have you adjusting, and you need to kind of readjust to that, wherever that wind is pitching you at, which, since I'm on that, I'm going to comment on that. This thing is awesome with the wind. It's way above the controllability of being able to handle more than what is recommended to handle. And I'll give you an example. So I use apps that predict the type of weather forecast for drones specifically. And say, for instance, within the app, you'll usually see where it says good flying day, good flying conditions, or something like that. When it says good flying conditions, it is absolutely great flying conditions. That's how much breathing room you have with this drone. Now, if it just hits the level, and this is minus rain, because obviously these things are not meant to take in rain. You don't want to fly it in rain. This is not the drone for that. We're going to get to the high end and the ultimate, which will be the drone. The ultimate one is the drone for that. Now, so with that being said, breaking it down, you have that capability within the apps. When they say, the app says, not really recommended, and usually why it's not recommended is a number of simple things. One, it's always weather, but one, it's either the rain concern of the weather or the wind concern of the weather. Those are the two major factors. There's some other things that can come into variables, but those are the two major factors when it's saying, hey, use caution, there's high wind in this area. That's usually when you'll get like, not recommended to fly. But I'm gonna tell you, this thing can push. This thing can play with the wind and give you some still shots, even in nice high winds around 35 and a little bit above that with no problem. Now, the only time I would not play with that is I would not go out too far, like over open water. I would limit that depending on the air wind, because how far out, you're not sure where you're going to get like a extreme gust, one of those gusts that might like shake an airplane up. Well, you know what it'll do to a little drone that's only prepared for so much power. But you want to use caution when it comes to that. If I'm on land or over land and in a certain radius, you play around the feel of the day. I've gotten to the point where I know the feel of the max, and I've been in some windy situations that the drone is real stable. But again, it's about how far I went out, how far I'm going in, and where my control is and what speed power I'm in. Usually if I'm in cinematic mode, I'm going to be in the slowest mode. By default, I may set some configurations around that, but you'll be fine with that at the slowest mode for cinematic footage. Other than that, I'm usually between the low and the high. So if I'm not in a cinematic mode, then I want to get some rich, fast footage, which means I'm going to be in sports mode, which you also know, once you're in sports mode, you lose all your sensors, because then the sensors obviously are off at that point, because logically it's no good if you're going to be traveling that fast to try to warn you before you hit a tree, because you're already going too fast. You need to know whether or not a tree is in front of you at that point if you're in sports mode. And also sports mode can be used to come back against stronger winds, when you have higher winds, things like that. Again, when you're flying over open ocean or something like that, within that area, or near trees and things like that, where you might catch that breeze and it might push you a little bit more to a one angle or another angle that can put you in jeopardy to getting tangled up or crashing your drone. So that's that part. Now we're going to take you, and I tried to cover most of the pros and cons. I'm going to just go backtrack over some of the outlines. Pros and cons again. You save money without losing quality with this particular drone as an entry level. Nice budget, costs a little money, but it's worth it. It'll make your money back in no time, especially if you're a professional. If you're a hobbyist, you might not. You can probably make your money back by just doing some small projects, and done deal. And keep moving at that point. Another good thing Pro is good for. So one of the things when I go out on the beach is it's a great shark detector. Now we're in Florida, so you already know, off the coast, when we've been having more sightings than anything. Now for the average person that's walking out on the beach, they may see nothing. Almost every time we are in the air around the beach doing beach shots, there is shark sightings. So even if I'm on a leisure day, and we're like, hey, let's go to the beach, have a good time, I'm going to send my drone out to do recon, to get the information, what's nearby, and how far out we should not go in that case. Matter of fact, I was in a situation, if you look at my YouTube, I have what's known as Beach Life, Miami Beach Life. One of the scenes, we saw a sighting of almost 40-something sharks. Literally 25 feet out from where people were. And these were mid-sized to moderate-sized shark. Again, like I say, the area that we're in, we get the dangerous sharks you get is the bull sharks and the tiger sharks within this radius. So that's the ones that are known, for attacking humans and being a higher threat to humans and stuff like that. But you also have, some of your reef sharks, and then you have some of your whitefin sharks and lemon sharks, etc. That can also be a risk. But these were nice shots. Check out our YouTube, ID Productions, under a drone, and you'll see some of that footage. But the point is, one of the pros is this could be used for surveillance of your property, to see what's going on, depending on where you live. Like, say you live in a rural area. It could be used to scout out the hogs that are nearby, so when you got threat, if you have livestock or something like that. It could be used in a number of cases. And again, in our cases, it could be used sharks or gators. So what's in your vicinity. So those are the two pros about it. Some of the cons, there are larger size sensors on the market that cost more, which are also some of the recommendations we're about to get into. I'm about to give you some ending footage as we close out with this review. Again, top recommendations: DJI Mini Pro 3, intro professional level, at a budget, save you at a budget, nice. It will get you everything you need. You can do so much stuff with this thing and keep on the move, and you don't have as many restrictions. Now, when you're not worried about restrictions, high-end pro level, I recommend skipping right on up to the Mavic Pro high-end, and we will go over some of that right now. So I'm gonna let this ride in the background.
With its mix of flagship imaging and exceptional portability, the DJI Mavic series has never stopped empowering creators. Now, it's time for another bold leap forward. Introducing Mavic 3 Pro and Mavic 3 Pro Cine.
And it's the Pro Cine that I recommend because obviously that's in the field of photography. Larger sensor, gives you more capability. You can fight more strong wind.
3 cameras for ultra-dynamic imaging. It starts with a 4/3 CMOS Hasselblad camera for outstanding image quality and color science.
对于风光拍摄而言，好风景往往稍纵即逝。3/4 CMOS 差速相机在大光比环境下可以记录更多光影信息，再结合哈苏自然色彩解决方案，直出的素材的颜色也能像人。
They also give you a higher end controller, which you should be able to control. Which I think you can now control the DJI Mini 3 Pro now.
f3.4 aperture. It provides higher resolution and can shoot 4K 60 FPS video.
Having the tele lens is truly game-changing for me because I think, especially while shooting wildlife, you want to try to capture the most authentic moments. So being able to film from a safe distance is really an amazing feature.
The third camera is a new 70mm medium tele that supports 3 times optical zoom, up to 48 megapixel resolution, and can shoot 4K 60 FPS and D-Log-M video.
The new 3 times tele lens is super helpful when you're trying to shoot in these urban environments because you can't always get super close to your subject. So it lets you just punch in and shoot from a bit farther back so you're not disturbing anyone. And it also lets you shoot with more compression. So those backgrounds look a lot bigger and more dramatic and you get more parallax with your shots.
The Cine version comes with a built-in 1TB SSD, and all 3 cameras are capable.
And that's the hard drive that I was referring to.
For premium color fidelity.
And you can get a larger one.
Pro-level imaging, Mavic 3 Pro also provides industry-leading flight performance and intelligent features. Authentic imaging has the power to convey emotion, to inspire, and to freeze moments in time. Mavic 3 Pro delivers endless ways to ignite the sparks of creativity.
So having 3 lenses built into the DJI Mavic 3 Pro allows me to get different angles and different shots that I didn't really think were possible before.
From the image quality to the insane variety of shots that you can get, this drone really is a dream for visual storytellers.
有了 Mavic 3 Pro， 我可以灵活使用3个焦段，尝试不同的构图，极大地提升了风光摄影的创作效率。
With its innovative triple camera system, Mavic 3 Pro ushers in a new era of imaging and storytelling possibilities, allowing you to keep inspiration in focus.
All right, we're going to sum it up with that one. And also, we're going to do the big boy, the really big boy right here. Welcome to the world of the MATRICE 300 RTK. This is when you're rich and you want to be able to beast out. You can have surveillance and security on your own property.
300 RTK and ZenMuse H20
running redundant
together they form the
routines with all the packages that it come with and quick swappables.
The MATRICE 300 RTK boasts a 55-minute flight time, 15-kilometer transmission range, improved reliability, superior flight performance, and powerful intelligent functions. For the first time ever, dual vision and TOF sensors appear on all 6 sides of the aircraft, providing the MATRICE 300 RTK with the ultimate positioning and obstacle avoidance capabilities. Flight, navigation, and obstacle data are presented in the new primary flight display. This provides unprecedented situational awareness. A powerful flying platform requires an equally capable payload. By combining a wide-angle camera, 23 times optical zoom camera, thermal camera, and a laser rangefinder, the ZenMuse H20 series is the optimal match for the MATRICE 300 RTK. The new UI lets you quickly scan an area with a wide-angle or thermal camera, preview a subject of interest, and then zoom in to confirm.
Whole nother next level right there.
All with just 2 taps. Combining the intelligence of the MATRICE 300 RTK and the versatility of the ZenMuse H20 series yields unprecedented productivity for your field operations. Minimize repetitive work by automating routine missions with AI spot check. You can mark objects of interest after a demo flight. Then the aircraft will replicate the position, angle, and framing automatically for future missions. Save time and get highly detailed imagery of a large area through high-res grid photos. Select an area of interest, then capture a set of photos with a long-range zoom camera, all with a single tap. In coordinated missions, it is essential yet challenging to synchronize aerial intelligence with ground and command teams. Use the pinpoint function to mark the subject of interest and instantly share the precise location data to your second operator or ground teams via DJI Flight Hub. With Smart Track, you can now automatically detect and track a moving object, even at extreme distances, while synchronizing the subject's dynamic location in real time. The advanced dual operator mode lets each operator obtain control of the aircraft or payload with a single tap. This creates new possibilities for mission strategies during operations. Efficiency doesn't stop at just software. Downtime is minimized by a hot swappable battery system that keeps power flowing without the need to reboot the aircraft. A new quick charging battery station allows for rapid recharging of 4 groups of flight and controller batteries, so you can keep operations going for as long as you need. If that's not enough, the MATRICE 300 RTK platform supports up to 3 payloads simultaneously and 2.7 kilograms of total payload weight. Compatibility with DJI's developer tools means you'll have access to a variety of industry-specific solutions in the months and years to come. In a world that demands more, we've reimagined what it means for tools to be tough, reliable, and intelligent. The MATRICE 300 RTK and ZenMuse H20 series, rewriting the standard for industrial UAV solutions.
All right. And that is pretty much our conclusion to the review on the DJI Mini 3 Pro. Summing up everything. Check out our videos on IDProductions.com. Also YouTube, our YouTube channel. And tell us what you think. Some of the footage that we've done. Some of the other footage that we couldn't upload is private to clients, so we're limited sometimes on things that we can release because sometimes we have high-end clients. So, but check us out. Share this with somebody. Like us, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. We will see you soon. Other than that, peace out.
Wow, 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 wow.